Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. My name is Julian, and because it's a fantasy playoffs, I've got a very special episode for you today. 5 tips on how to win this week. Before we get started though, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you haven't already done that already. Without further ado, let's jump right into the content and let's start with tip number 1. Add players that play Monday and Tuesday. By doing this, you set yourself up to have an early lead in the week, which is immensely helpful, right? You're getting back-to-back games Monday and Tuesday from a player, and because of that, you're maximizing the amount of points possible from that player, and then possibly you can swap them out afterwards if you don't have room in your lineup. But by maximizing your games from that player, you're already getting yourself off to a pretty solid start. One thing to note though, guys, Tuesday is a pretty busy night, so go ahead and check your lineup. If you already have a full lineup of forwards, I'm probably going to ignore this tip. Same thing if you have next day ads, because I'm putting this out on Monday. If you have next day ads, obviously you can't add a player for both Monday and Tuesday if you haven't already done so. Now, if you do want to do this, there are 3 teams only that play Monday, Tuesday games. Those teams are Boston, Columbus, and Toronto. So those are the 3 teams I'd be streaming from if you want to try to get yourself off to a good head start over your opponent. And that brings me to tip number 2. Drop your Golden Knights if you need to. The Golden Knights only play 2 games this week, guys. They play on Wednesday and on Saturday. So if you're watching this video and you still have some lower owned Vegas Golden Knights that you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I should drop them, at this point, you probably might as well hold on to them until Wednesday, because Wednesday is an off night and you probably can fit them in your lineup. And then after that, if you need to, if you're not ahead of your opponent by enough and you're worried that you're going to need some points to catch up, you can definitely consider dropping them after that for players that you can actually fit in your lineup, because after their Wednesday game, they only play on Saturday, which is the busiest night of the week. So odds are you can't even fit them in your lineup anyway on Saturday. So it's a pretty good idea to drop them, because after Wednesday, there are some players that play 3 games possibly that you can potentially fit in your lineup. So it may be worth doing so. And that brings me right to tip number 3, dropping players that you can't fit in your lineup. For example, I have Kailer Yamamoto on one of my fantasy hockey teams. He was great for me last week. He was playing on the off nights and he didn't do too bad. The thing is, this week he's playing on the busy nights of Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Those nights are pretty busy, and because they are, he doesn't actually fit in my lineup. I have players that are better than him on the right wing to put in the lineup instead of Yamamoto. And because this week he's playing on those busy nights, he'll be riding my bench all week because he just doesn't fit in my lineup. Is it worth having a guy like Yamamoto just riding my bench all week and not getting me any points? Absolutely not. This is the fantasy playoffs. You need players that are going to be playing in your lineup. And that's why if you set your lines for the week and you see there's a player constantly riding your bench, that player may be a good idea to drop for someone who maybe plays on the off nights that you can actually play, because maximizing your games in the fantasy playoffs is super important to winning the week. And that kind of brings me directly to my next tip. Adding players that play Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Those nights are not busy nights. Odds are, if you look in your lineup, you got plenty of room for forwards on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. The teams that play those days are Winnipeg and Tampa Bay. Those are the 2 teams that play all 3 of those days. So if there are players like a Paul Stastny available, I really like adding Paul Stastny, or an Alex Killorn if somehow he's available. Really, really good ads. And the thing is with Winnipeg, they have a really, really good off-night schedule next week as well. So if you are adding a guy like Paul Stastny, he's my favorite ad this week, because not only is he good for the off-nights this week, he's good for the off-nights next week as well, because Winnipeg plays Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. And actually, they're the only team besides their opponent that plays on Monday night. So if you do stream a guy like Paul Stastny, he's going to help you significantly. He does play on the top line as well. So definitely a guy that I really do like streaming right now, Paul Stastny, as well as any other Winnipeg Jets, like even a Zach Sanford. If you're in a really deep league, he is getting second line time, and his peripherals haven't been too bad lately. So let's see how he does. And honestly, for the off nights, you could do worse than Zach Sanford. Other teams that you can consider adding players from are Boston, Buffalo, Carolina, Minnesota, St. Louis. Boston, Buffalo, Carolina, and Minnesota all play on Friday and on Sunday, which is pretty good for off nights. So you could add them on Thursday or on Friday, whatever you make your ads for those off nights. And then for St. Louis, they do play on Wednesday and on Friday. So you could add those guys earlier and then potentially drop them if you need to after that. Anaheim and Washington also get 2 off nights, Wednesday and Sunday, but they're kind of split apart. So I'm not a huge fan of that because you'll have to grab it in advance and then just not play them for a few days. But they're not the worst options if you need to do that. And that brings me to tip number 5, my last tip. If you are in the lead towards the end of the week and you see that you're going to win the week, no problem. You don't need to make any more ads to help you win this week. Go ahead and start making moves to help you win next week. Go ahead and add Montreal Canadiens and Winnipeg Jets players to help you next week because they have the off night games next week. Montreal and Winnipeg both play Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week, and Montreal and Winnipeg are the only 2 teams that actually play on Monday, so you're immediately setting yourself up for some immediate points on Monday night where your opponent may not have anybody that plays on Monday night next week. So that's an immediate advantage that you could have if you do pick up those players in advance. Players that I'd look at are guys like Stastny and Sanford, who I've already mentioned, and guys like Rem Pitlick, who's only 1% rostered, but is currently playing on the top line with Caulfield and Suzuki, and he's not been too bad lately. He has 3 points in his last 3 games, and he's getting a lot of ice time. And honestly, he's been pretty solid ever since the Habs have acquired him. So they're giving him top line time in super deep leagues. He may be definitely worth grabbing as a streamer for next week. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I tried to keep this one short and sweet, but hopefully I helped you guys out. So leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped. Good luck with your matchups, guys.